Good morning, evening, or afternoon to everybody who follows this channel. Today, the transmission will be in English. We're going to look at Proverbs 5. Proverbs 5 warns us about chastity. Now, Proverbs is attributed to the book to Solomon, the wisest king in history. He is attributed to being the sought to have all this wisdom rather than power or money. It was written in Hebrew towards about the no, 10th century BC in Hebrew. It is a collection of things he has learned throughout his life. So let's begin. Open your Bibles to Proverbs chapter 5. I will be using the Douay Rhymes version of it. Honestly, I prefer Douay Rhymes over King James. First of all, the Douay Rhymes came before the King James, number one. So the Douay Rhymes came before the King James. Any differences between Douay Rhymes and King James were alterations done by King James, which I will talk about in another video. Um, let's begin. My son, attend to my wisdom and incline thy ear to my prudence, that thou mayest keep thoughts and thy lips may preserve instruction. Mind not the deceit of women. In other words, pay no attention to the deceit of a woman. Uh, but as we will see later on, it's not telling you to ignore when a woman deceives you. It's telling you not to pay attention to what a woman does to deceive man. Obviously, not all women. This is an warning of what could happen when people chase after other people's wives or after any seductive woman. Women, the word here, deceit, in the Hebrew, it literally tells us seduction. It literally tells us don't look upon a woman who is a seductress. It will tell us a lot of the way women are and how we men are weak. Let's face it, we men are weak when there's a very beautiful um, woman in front of us, and if that woman is being sweet with her words, with her, we are we tend to fall easily. And that's what this is warning us about. Those falls that could be done that could lead us definitely off the bad path. So let's continue. The lips of the harlot are like a honeycomb dropping, and her throat is smoother than oil. Right here is talking specifically about the harlot, but Hebrew gets more specific. The Hebrew word here is zahra. In other words, it's not talking about just a harlot, but any woman that could easily deceive you. Maybe not a harlot, maybe there's a Your next door neighbor is married and he goes off on vacation and the wife takes advantage to try to seduce you. That's another example. It says that her lips is like a honeycomb dropping, sweet, telling you maybe she kisses well. And her throat is smoother than oil. Um, but her end is bitter as wormwood and sharp as a two-edged sword. In other words, if you're chasing after the sweetness of that woman who's trying to seduce you and, and may not be in the proper confines of marriage, be careful because at the end you might regret it. That's why it's telling us wormwood was a special type of medicine that was impossibly bitter and as sharp as a two-edged sword, sharp enough to go and affect you. Her feet go down into death, and her steps go as far as hell. Well, in the time that the Hebrew was written, the concept of hell per se did not exist. This was a let's see what the Hebrew actually says. So bear with me, come. Let's find the Hebrew translation of this. Even though the Dwayne Rhymes Bible is properly translated everywhere else, there's an important thing I like to point out every time this specific Hebrew word shows up. So I want to point it out because it is of extreme importance when we are getting to learn what Scripture actually says. And it helps clarify a lot of mistakes a lot of people make when interpreting the Bible. They we often forget that the Bible was originally not written in English, and we expect to see specific words meaning specific things in Hebrew, but we see that there's a lot more when we actually look at the Hebrew language. When I look at the Hebrew of these biblical texts, I become prouder of being Catholic. It says, Regleya Yaredet Mavet. Her feet walk down into hell. Shaol Tziodia Yitemeho. Sheol, that does not translate as hell. Geena or Beninom do. But right here we see specifically Sheol. It literally tells us to Sheol her steps, Sheol her steps grab a firm grasp of. In other words, um, by being these seductress persons, the sin of adultery, the sin of lust, is very sticky. It's very hard to free ourselves from. That's why it says it lays firm grasp of Sheol. But what is the Sheol we see in the Hebrew language? The word Sheol literally means purgatory. You see, the word Sheol is a specific word that does not talk about the physical resting place, Protestants who don't like to accept Catholic doctrine will tell you that Sheol is a grave. But when we talk about a grave, we're usually talking about a physical place where you lay down the corpse to rest. Sheol does not refer to a physical place, so it cannot refer to the grave itself. Um, the word for grave is actually kavar, and we don't see that here. We see Sheol, the living place for the souls of those who have passed on. And I do not accept this interpretation as hell because the Bible tells us that hell is a place for those who have not repented from their sin. It's a place of condemnation. But throughout the entire Old Testament, we see that people go to Sheol whether or not they were unrepentant sinners. In the Old Testament, everybody went to Sheol. Nobody went to heaven or hell, except maybe Elijah and Enoch. Other than them, nobody else were reported as actually going to heaven because the gates of Sheol were still closed. The doors of Sheol do not open until the death and resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ, almost a millennium after Solomon. So, right here, the proper translation is that um, the steps of the adulteress take a hold of a firm grasp of the road to purgatory. How do we get to purgatory? By dying. So by here it's telling us that if you accept the path of the seductress, you're on a path to sure death. Let's continue seeing what Proverbs 5 has to tell us. We were off on verse 6. We were about to start verse 6. They walk not by the path of life, her steps are wandering and unaccountable. In other words, take care of lust, because if you let your eye go astray and you let your heart go astray and you start chasing after the strange woman, that the Bible literally uses the word strange woman or a stranger, a woman who's a stranger. In other words, a woman who is not your wife. Sex with anybody else that is not your wife could be dangerous. That's why God warns us against that. He's not, don't get me wrong, he's not talking against sexuality per se. He's telling us, watch out who you release your sexuality with. Sexuality within its proper confines of marriage is a blessing and a command. Be fruitful and multiply were the first words God tells Adam and Eve. But when you're outside of the confines of marriage, sexuality can be a very dangerous thing, is what this is telling you. It could be deadly, is what it tells us. A lot of people say, but how can it be deadly? How can giving way to your lust be deadly? Um, you have a lot of, for example, a lot of sexual transmitted diseases that come from lust. A couple that is monogamous, just one man giving himself to just one woman who's his wife, and she being sexually active with only one man who happens to be her husband. Right there, you can ensure that STDs will not be part of that relationship. If for some reason an STD falls in a marriage, that means one of the two people have been unfaithful. Um, Also, if you're having a relationship with somebody who is already married, do you think her husband's not going to find out? It takes time, but every secret comes forth to the light. And how do you think her husband is going to react? How do you think his wife is going to react? If you over here got check a person who's married, don't be surprised when the spouse finds out and comes after you. As should be done. Be very careful who you give your body to. Yes, there are many beautiful women with wow in their bodies. We cannot deny that. But hear what it says here. Therefore, my son, hear me, and depart not from the words of the mouth. Oh wait, I also need to point out LGBTQ. A lot of people say, "Oh, that with those of us who follow the faith hate the LGBT community." We don't hate them. We want them to live wholesome lives because of this. Did you know AIDS is more likely to happen within communities of the LGBT community? And I'm not just making this up as a way to be phobic, as they ridiculously put it. The statistics out there. I've gotten to have several acquaintances who happen to be members of that community. None of them ever escaped dying of AIDS. Sorry to tell you. Sure, let's talk about improved medicine, this and that, but that's only slowing down the inevitable. Don't give way to lust. Do not be foolish enough to confuse lust with love. Those are two different feelings. Those are completely different. If when you think about her, all you think is about taking her to bed, that's not love. That's lust. Sure, when you're in love with somebody, sometimes it includes a sense of wanting to be active in bed with her, obviously. But if it's the only thing occupying your relationship, it's lust. Here's a simple test for you to know if what you're feeling for your wife, for that woman, your wife, that your girlfriend, whoever, or if what you're feeling for that person, for that man, is really love or not. Ask yourself, what do I like most about this person? If you can only think of the physical, her hips, her thighs, her legs, her face, her breasts, you're probably not feeling love. You're probably just feeling lust. If you're thinking about something more in a profound level, I mean, her smile, her joy, her personality, then that may be love or it may be infatuation that would require another test for it. If all you think of, oh, this, I like her, the spark in her life. Okay, what do you mean by spark? That could be really mean different thing to many people. Oh, I like the spark in her life, the way she is very sociable, the way she's always cheerful. Okay, that's probably not lust. But if you talk about the spark in her life being something associated to sexuality, and that's the first thing that you like about her, then it's lust. Oh, I like the way she makes me feel. Okay. Does she make you say, as people vulgarly say in the ghetto, does she make you feel horny? Then it's probably lust, most likely. Or does she just make you happy about what exactly about her makes you feel happy to be around her? If it's something connected with her physical body, if it's something connected with your sexuality or hers, then you're probably just talking about lust, and that would be a red flag for you to step away before that lust drags you to the grave. That's what this chapter is trying to tell us. Now, therefore, my son, hear me and depart not from the words of my mouth. Listen, pay attention, follow this advice, is what he is telling us. Remove thy way far from her, and come not nigh the doors of her house. Get away from her. Do not go visit her. Give not your honor to strangers, and your ears to the cruel. This word cruel, today's terms, you could probably call it to the toxic, your toxic lovers. Do not give your honor. What is your honor? Your dignity as a man, your dignity as a woman. Don't throw yourself to the feet of somebody who comes here and beats you. Listen, it's kind to you only when he lusts after you, but then when he's not, when he's already satisfied his lust, he comes around beating you up, hitting you around. That is not love. A person who loves somebody will not hurt them. A man, if the man really loves his wife, he will not go around beating on her. Ladies, if your man slaps you around, pushes you, hits you, get away from that relationship. He does not love you. You're about a sex slave. For him, you're just property. And that is not what God intended for your dignity. Men, so this happens to some men as well. So if this is your situation, no matter how much you love her, no matter how much you love him, ladies, get away. Remove yourself from him and do not come by his house. Do not give your dignity to that person who sees you as a sugar daddy. Oh, giving herself to you just because you give her gold necklace. No. If she's only after your money, get away from her no matter how much you could think you love her. Because once again, you're only her slave. Don't give yourself to those who see you only as a slave. Oh, she might say, "Oh, I'm going to give myself to him so that I could have that nice fancy car." Watch out. Let strangers be filled unless, lest means unless Strangers, be filled with us with your strength. The word stranger here means those who are not your spouses, people you have not joined your life in matrimony. In other words, in this chapter, every time it talks about a stranger, it means any sex partner whom you have not joined your life with a ceremony of matrimony, which, by the way, is only valid between a man and a woman. Let those people who are not your spouse be filled with your strength. Why are you going to give yourself the best years of your life to those people who are not willing to put a ring on your finger? Do you know why he does not want to give you an engagement ring? Do you know why he really doesn't want to marry you? Most likely it's because of lust. He gets tired of you and it's easier for him to go on to the next woman. For me, this is the best proof of love you can have. Not whether he buys you things or not. That's not love. Not how he kisses. There's a song that says, it's in his kiss. No. The kiss could also communicate lust. That was your think is, oh, he loves me because of the way he kisses me. No. That person could be just lusting you. Or us men. Oh, my wife kisses nice, so that means she loves me. No, not necessarily. Remember the first few verses here says, um, her the life of the seductress, her mouth is as sweet as honeycomb. The best sign for them to know whether they really love you or not, are they willing to commit their lives to you? That's the purpose of the ring, or at least that's what it was supposed to be. Commitment. That's why it's called engagement, because your heart, your life is already engaged with that person. Engaged means to be committed. If they have not put an engagement ring, or even better, a wedding ring in your finger, don't be so sure of their love until they have already vowed to be with you for eternity in sickness and in health. Unless your labors be in another man's house. Another man's house. You're over here, you fall in love with a woman that belongs to somebody else, to another man, a woman who's married to another man. And you're over here giving yourself to her. Who's really taking advantage of the thing? She is. And he, your rival, um, indirectly also gets benefited from your weakness to that woman. Quite on the opposite. Later on in this same chapter is going to tell us what is best. Let's go to verse 11. And you mourn it the last when you shall have spent your flesh and your body, and say, why have I hated instruction, and my heart consented not to reproof? I have not heard the voice of them that taught me. I have not inclined my ear to masters. In Hebrew, the word masters here is morim, which means teachers. It is literally telling us, stay away from lust until the time comes when you regret it. Notice it says you spend your flesh and your body. Some of you might be saying, wait a minute, isn't that talking about the same thing? Yes. It is. But in Hebrew, there's this use of redundancy, repeating the same thing in two different ways as a way of adding emphasis. You're wasting yourself away with a woman who is not your wife. You're wasting your best years of your life, your beauty, and your physique, giving you chasing after men who don't even love you, who only see you as a piece of meat. I find it so sad when women try and go through surgery to make their breasts or their rear end larger. Who are you trying to impress? Oh, I want to. No, no, no. If the man you're trying to impress makes you, if you feel the need to, to go through all these surgeries and look better to impress a specific man, that man does not deserve you because he's not accepting you for who you are. Do not waste your body on someone who does not deserve it because, as this tells you, you will regret it. And then when you find out the consequences of lust, when you have AIDS or some form of STD, when you get pregnant with an unwanted pregnancy, you're going to see, oh no, I should have listened. I have almost been in all evil in the midst of the church and of the congregation. Drink water only of thy own cistern and streams of your own well. Now, here gets a little bit erotic, but Solomon is going to get very specific for a reason. Drink water out of your own cistern and the streams of your own well. That means stick to your own wife. Enjoy your wife in all senses of the world or of the word. Enjoy your own husband. Don't go chasing after another husband. Don't go chasing after other man. Give yourself to your man. Give yourself to your woman. And go at it. You and her. As long as it is with her, there's no limits. He even goes on and gets specific with the way he phrases it. Let your fountains be conveyed. Let your fountains be conveyed abroad, and in the streets divide your waters. Let's see what this says in the Hebrew. Something there does not sound right. Let's see what the Hebrew actually says. We're looking at verse 16. Let's see what verse 16 has to say about this in Hebrew. Bear with me, it's kind of, there it is. Yafutsu, that does as the verb is yafat. It's unconcluded in plural, okay. The root is yafat, no, it's foots is the root, means to disperse or to scatter. Okay. יבוצעו מעונותיך, מעיון, מעיינות is the root, מעיינות, מעיין is a spring, okay, your springers shall be dispersed. Hotza, from hot, outside. Rehoboth, in the streets. Palage Maim, the, the streams of water. In other words, your own sexuality. It says, keep these streams from your well, do thyself alone, neither let the strangers be partakers with thee. In other words, do not give your sexuality to who? To strangers, to somebody who you have not gotten into that intimate bond of marriage with. Keep, in a sense, it's telling us, keep your sexuality for the confines of marriage and marriage alone. The stranger here is anybody whom you have not become husband and wife with, technically. Let your vein be blessed and rejoice with the wife of your youth. Your first wife is your real wife, not your second wife. That's just a lover. Not a third wife. That's just a lover. Enjoy the wife of your youth to the most. And here's where it gets beautiful and poetic. Verse 19. Let her be your dearest hind or deer, the most agreeable fawn. Let her breast inebriate you at all times. Be delighted continually with her love. Let her be your. Okay. Hebrew sounds so much beautiful when we go literal on the Hebrew. We are looking at verse 19. Let's look at verse 19 in the Hebrew. It gets very poetic. Solomon is known for erotic poetry. Just look at the Song of Solomon, and you will see how um, erotic Solomon can get to be. Verse 19. But not just erotic, also, let's see, verse 19. Also very sweet and kind of romantic in this case. That's verse 18. We're looking for verse 19. And it tells us as follows. Elat ahavim ve'alat. Elat ahavim. A foe of a doe of love. Ve'elat chen. And a deer of grace, a graceful deer. Let your wife be the most precious in your life. Of fawn, of or a deer, of a graceful deer is what it literally tells us. Elad actually means a gazelle of love, a gazelle of grace is what it's telling you here. Let your wife continue being the gazelle of love, that graceful gazelle. Don't outgrow what you felt for her the first time you met her. Didia Yeruda Bekol et. Let her breast satisfy you. There's nothing wrong with erotic love. There's nothing wrong to be drawn to her breast, provided she's your wife and not another woman. Provided you've already committed yourself to her and she has also committed to you in the confines of marriage, go at it. Go at it. You and her. Enjoy yourselves physically as much as you can. Let her rest satisfy you, bekol et. Notice how it's spelled with the ein teth. This means time, but a specific time, a precise time. Whenever you're with her, like usually teshagu. Right here, the verb is shaga. Shaga means to go ready to err, but in this case, it also means to just lose it. In other words, if you have two women here in front of you, one's your wife, whom you already pledged your life to, and right here this is another gorgeous woman with all the right curves. Go to your wife instead. And when you go tonight and sleep next to your wife, go at it. Go crazy with her. Whatever you want to do, go do it. No limits. Whatever fantasies you have, you and your wife, go at it. But avoid the seductive woman. Always, it's saying here, always let this beautiful girl who is now your wife go at it with you. You feel if you're feeling in the mood, go seduce your wife. Don't go chasing after another woman. Seduce your wife and go at it with her. Or if you're a woman, you're feeling in the mood. Don't go chasing after the rich man. Don't go chasing after that well-built man. Go take your husband into your room and do whatever you want with him. He's gonna thank you. Why are you seduced, my son, by a strange woman, and are cherished in the bosom of another? Why are you going to fall in love with other people? The Lord looks at the ways of man and considers all his steps. He's out there judging you for what you're doing. His own iniquities catch the wicked, and he is fast bound with the ropes of his own sins. Your lust is going to trap you. You're feeling lust? Go lock yourself in your room with your wife. Don't go chasing after another woman. Why not? He shall die because he has not received instruction, and the multitude of his folly he shall be deceived. Your lust will deceive you. Oh, but this woman's better than my wife, or this and that. I don't think so. That's your lust talking to you. And sadly, one thing that does destroy marriages is this: the folly of chasing after another man's wife. The folly of chasing after a woman that's not your wife. One thing that does keep marriages together is that even when you're not in the mood, so to speak, you help your spouse out. In summary, this chapter is telling us every man, every woman goes through periods of actually having a strong desire to make love. Let it be to your wife and to your wife alone. Let your love life be as wild and crazy as you want it to be, but with your own wife. Don't go kindling your heart with some other woman who is not your wife. Don't go seducing men who's not your husband, ladies. Don't give yourself up as sexual objects for other people to abuse of you. You want that special attention? Find a way of seducing your husband. You've already seduced your husband once. That's why he's your husband. What did you do then that you're not doing now? Find that out and get that spark in your love life going once again with your husband or with your wife.